Hello, and welcome to Replay Value. A great fight in anime is the combination of three areas that speak to its capacity as a narrative medium. The most obvious one is visuals: fight choreography, visual effects style, animation, character and weapon designs, compositing. Then there's its less flashy sibling in audio: sound design for the location, character grunts, the inclusion of small effects like footsteps and breaths, the soundtrack usage. Which leaves us with the core of most mediums: writing. How the fight is paced, what are the stakes, how the characters feel each other out as things progress. I'm sure some of the previously shown examples are ones that came to mind, as well as many more that I haven't seen. But today I want to focus on the Gon vs Hisoka fight from Hunter x Hunter 2011, because I think it speaks to the power that sound has in making fight sequences so great, and how it can elevate a moment that was already impressive on its own for visual and thematic merits into one of the most memorable in the entire show. Episode 35 begins with an explanation of Nen that, while fascinating and setting up one of the interesting interludes in episode 36's section of the battle, is mostly irrelevant to the soundscaping point at the core of this video. Once we hit Heaven's Arena though, we immediately get some good sound contrast. From the excited crowds to the dead silence of Hisoka and Gon getting ready. Knuckles cracking, the tying of shoes. It immediately sets the stage that this fight is more than just some show match for the combatants. And the use of Boys Be Courageous's percussion line for the introduction before bringing the melody for the stare down is a great way to build anticipation. The final notes are played with the last line of the announcer, and we get a half beat of silence to clearly indicate the transition from prelude to fight as Gon goes on for the attack. What accompanies this section is a chilling background track, which basically personifies creepy, with the sharp screeches from the woodwinds and slow build of an eerie ambient noise. Since Gon's our focal point for this scene, this track makes clear that Hisoka is a terrifying opponent. If we hadn't seen that for ourselves previously, and asks the viewer not to root for Gon's victory, but instead to root for his survival. The visuals confirm this, as Gon is very clearly outclassed by Hisoka, who hasn't had to move an inch nor taken a clean hit while dishing out plenty of convincing attacks. Besides the creepy track, the only thing that accompanies this sequence is the sound effects, attacks, and Gon's fighting vocalizations, which make clear how hard he's trying and how Hisoka isn't breaking a sweat. The lack of dialogue over this sequence is a break from previous fights in Heaven's Arena, and the ambient tone, the eerie one that was building slowly, resolves with the ref's declaration of Hisoka's first point, which results in a massive cheer from the audience. When I watched this scene for the first time, I said out loud to myself, "That was intense," as though I had been holding my breath until the tension in the soundtrack had dissipated, which it does in that moment, and it's the same emotional state as the announcer up in the booth and presumably as the entire audience in the arena. The show rightfully doesn't jump immediately back into the action, instead choosing to let this low tension moment play out for a bit longer and slowly ramp up using sprint while going through Gon's thought process. What really sells this for me though, is when Gon goes back into the attack, you can hear elements of the previous creepy track. Specifically, the sharp woodwinds break through the audio every once in a while. But as the scene continues, it's eventually completely absorbed by the building triumphant section of Sprint, which becomes clear after Gon flips the stone, an auditory cue for what's about to happen. There's no need to be as afraid of Hisoka anymore. And the timing on the end of the song, as Gon's fist connects, is so satisfying, especially as we hear it 2 more times. But as that echo fades into nothingness, there's no more sound to be heard. No audience cheer, no skidding, no landing sounds, nothing. Pure silence. It's a monumental occasion that shows how far Gon has come in this moment, thematically speaking, and it leaves the viewer in a state of hyped awe, a rare achievement. It's also a pause in the fight. Now that we know that Gon can land a punch on Hisoka, what does this mean for the rest of the battle? Hisoka is clearly still stronger, but there isn't as much of a fear of Gon being so outclassed that he gets brutalized. This silence serves not only to expand the length of how huge a punch that was, thematically speaking, but also as an opportunity for the viewer to think about what's coming next. But before much thinking can truly be done, the first riffs of the ED's guitar come in to signal the narrator and the end of the episode. For whatever reason, when I think of this Hunter x Hunter ED, it's always in this context, and that makes it infinitely more epic, at least in my opinion. And in this moment, the desire to watch the next episode to figure out how the fight concludes is all the more powerful because of that audio transition. Since the audience has long been cued in that these notes indicate the end of the episode, and with that pregnant pause in the audio beforehand, it sets up so much more to come. The utilization of silence as a way to empower this scene after using ambient tracks and the normal OST up to this point has left Gon's punch as one of the most memorable moments from the show for me personally. I don't foresee myself talking about this fight in particular again, since so much of what I love about it is its use of sound, so I want to quickly point out how much I dig the fight pacing and some of the cool shots. It's pretty natural for slow moments in the fight, dialogue-laden, internal monologue, feeling out the opponent, to build back into the high-intensity ones, the actual combat. It's traditionally pretty much like a swaying ship, since constant high tension is pretty exhausting and low tension is boring as far as fights go. This fight partially gets around this seesaw by having Hisoka being a master of misdirection. Early on in episode 36, there's this dialogue around types of nen and their users' characteristics, something that's immediately relevant to what we learned in the last episode and therefore intriguing to the audience from a character perspective, which not only serves as a low-tension moment to build back into combat, but also as an opportunity for Hisoka to place bungee gum on Gon. From that point on, any low-tension moments will have some threat in the background as the viewer wonders what Hisoka's next trick might be, and rightfully so as the fight ends. I also think ending on a bit of an anticlimax in that way was also a great call, since the high achievement had already been reached with Gon's punch in the previous episode, and that feeling of an unsettled matter matches both Gon and Hisoka's emotional states, at least partially. Regarding cool shots, I like this one, but I love this one. The elasticity of Hisoka's body, the way the camera moves, you can almost feel how much the punch had to hurt. I really just had to shout that one out. It sums up Hisoka's character as a fighter so well just through the small decisions like framing. Anyway, I hope this video helped to show how important sound, or maybe the lack thereof, is in building intricate and exciting fight scenes. Specifically how, when even not consciously noticed, it creates a sonic profile to achieve an emotional resonance in the viewer. That's possible with a great soundtrack, but also with a talented sound designer who knows when and how to use sound to its utmost. And Gon's equalizing punch against Hisoka is just one example where total absence does more than even the most triumphant song ever could.